When we talk about hydration, most people reduce it to a simplistic rule: drink more water, and everything will sort itself out. But that misses something far more fundamental. Hydration isn't just about quenching thirst, it's about maintaining internal order. The human body is, in many ways, a delicate negotiation between chaos and stability, and water is one of the primary tools that keeps that balance intact. Watermelon, with its unusually high water content and natural electrolyte profile, doesn't merely add fluid to the system, it restores coherence at the cellular level. Mild dehydration is deceptive because it doesn't announce itself dramatically. Instead, it shows up as fatigue that feels unearned, mental fog that erodes attention, and a subtle increase in stress reactivity. You become more irritable, less focused, and less resilient, physically and psychologically. This is important, because when the internal environment is unstable, the mind follows. Watermelon functions almost like a biological reset. It delivers hydration in a form the body recognizes immediately, while its potassium and magnesium content help regulate nerve signaling and muscle function. That means the heart works more efficiently, the kidneys experience less strain, and the nervous system settles into a more balanced state. There's also a symbolic layer here that's worth paying attention to. In a culture that constantly pushes intensity, stronger stimulants, harsher discipline, more extreme interventions, watermelon represents a different philosophy. It supports the body without forcing it. Instead of demanding adaptation, it restores the conditions under which adaptation becomes possible. Hydration, in this sense, is not indulgence, it's responsibility. It's an act of maintaining the basic structure that allows higher goals, clarity, discipline, and purposeful action to emerge. What's remarkable is how simple this is. You don't need complexity to restore order, you need alignment with biological reality. Watermelon provides volume without burden, sweetness without metabolic chaos, and hydration without stress. It's a reminder that neglecting fundamentals is often the root of unnecessary suffering. When you attend to the basics, the system rewards you with energy, focus, and stability. And that leads to a deeper insight: before you try to fix your life at the level of ambition and strategy, make sure the foundations are solid, because clarity begins when the body is properly nourished, and from that clarity, meaningful change becomes possible. If you look closely at watermelon, what appears at first glance to be nutritionally simple turns out to be quietly sophisticated. Beneath the sweetness and the water content lies a combination of compounds that directly influence how well your body moves blood, manages stress, and sustains energy over time. Two of the most important are lycopene and citrulline, and their value becomes obvious once you understand what they protect you from. Modern life exposes the cardiovascular system to constant low-grade assault, oxidative stress, inflammation, and metabolic overload. The damage accumulates slowly, almost invisibly, until it manifests as fatigue, stiffness, or disease. Lycopene acts as a defense against that gradual erosion, protecting blood vessels from oxidative damage and preserving their flexibility. And flexible vessels matter, because rigidity, whether in arteries or in thinking, always comes at a cost. Citrulline operates in a complementary way. It increases nitric oxide production, which improves blood flow and reduces unnecessary vascular tension. That means oxygen and nutrients reach tissues more efficiently, blood pressure is regulated rather than forced down, and physical exertion becomes less taxing. From a psychological perspective, this matters more than we tend to admit. When circulation improves, effort feels cleaner. You recover faster. You're less exhausted by tasks that once drained you. The body stops interpreting everyday demands as threats, and that shifts how the mind responds to challenge. Resilience isn't just a mental trait, it's built on physiological capacity. There's a deeper lesson embedded here. We often chase intensity, assuming that health, strength, and performance must come from aggressive intervention. But watermelon offers a different model: quiet reinforcement. It strengthens the systems that allow endurance rather than demanding short bursts of heroics. Over time, that distinction is everything. Cardiovascular health isn't about dramatic moments. It's about preserving function across decades. Lycopene and citrulline work slowly, consistently, and cumulatively, exactly how meaningful change tends to happen in life. This also reframes responsibility. Taking care of the heart and metabolic system isn't just about avoiding illness, it's about honoring the machinery that makes effort possible in the first place. When the internal systems are supported, you're more capable of bearing responsibility, sustaining focus, and showing up fully in demanding situations. So the takeaway is deceptively simple: strength is not always loud, and improvement doesn't require violence against the body. Sometimes progress looks like nourishing what keeps you alive. Because when circulation is supported and oxidative damage is reduced, you're not just protecting your heart, you're preserving your capacity to act meaningfully in the world. When people struggle with weight and eating habits, the problem is rarely a lack of information. Most individuals already know what they should and shouldn't eat. The real struggle is psychological. It's the ongoing tension between immediate gratification and long-term well-being, between impulse and discipline. This is where watermelon becomes surprisingly instructive, not just nutritionally, but philosophically. It offers sweetness, volume, and satisfaction without the metabolic consequences that usually accompany those pleasures. And that matters, because sustainable self-control is built on intelligent substitution, not perpetual deprivation. Watermelon's high water and fiber content create a strong satiety signal. The stomach fills, the brain registers fullness, and appetite naturally settles. At the same time, its natural sugars arrive slowly, avoiding the dramatic blood sugar spikes that trigger cravings and emotional eating. In practical terms, this means you can eat generously and still move toward metabolic stability. But the deeper point is this: when biology is supported rather than antagonized, willpower is no longer constantly under siege. Discipline stops feeling like punishment and starts to feel like alignment. There's a profound psychological implication here. Many people attempt to impose order on their lives through rigid restriction, only to collapse under the pressure. That approach mirrors a broader pattern, trying to force transformation through sheer intensity. Watermelon suggests an alternative. It allows pleasure to coexist with structure. You don't eliminate sweetness, you choose a form of sweetness that doesn't sabotage your future. That shift changes the internal narrative. You're no longer someone trying to be good, but someone making decisions that respect both present experience and long-term consequence. This is why satiety matters so much. When hunger is constant, the mind narrows. Irritability increases, patience declines, and decision-making deteriorates. A satiated body, on the other hand, frees cognitive resources. You think more clearly. You're less reactive. You become more capable of choosing what matters over what merely feels urgent. In that sense, watermelon supports not just weight regulation, but psychological stability. And perhaps that's the most important lesson. Real, lasting change doesn't come from fighting yourself, it comes from understanding yourself. When you choose foods that satisfy without excess, you practice a form of wisdom. You demonstrate that progress is possible without self-destruction. So reflect on this. If you want a life built on discipline, clarity, and purpose, start by making choices that reduce internal conflict, because when nourishment and restraint move in the same direction, transformation becomes sustainable.